episode 67 of the podcast. What can we apply to every dog? Every dog, every time, every situation. I know that we talk about dogs being individuals and that every dog is a little bit different, but there's one big thing that I think we should apply to every dog, every time, and every situation. So find out this week. You're listening to the Creating Great Grooming Dogs podcast. I'm Chrissy Newmeyer-Smith. I'm a certified professional groomer, a certified behavior consultant for canines, a certified professional dog trainer, and the owner of Happy Critters in Nashua, New Hampshire. And this, my friends and colleagues, is the podcast where grooming and training meet. Every dog is an individual, and when we're looking at and observing the behavior in front of us, we have to figure out what makes that dog do what they do, and that process can seem overwhelming. But today I want to talk about some things that you should always keep in mind, things that apply to every dog and every situation. Well, just about every situation. Any non-emergency situation, you should be thinking in these terms. Are you ready? Because this is more like the quick answer cookbook type instructions that so many of us crave. And here it is, the 3 C's. Calm, comfortable, and cooperative. This should be our guideline when we assess every interaction and every behavior. Because it's the core of our behavior problems and for finding solutions. And that's why I've been drilling it into your mind. At any time, take a moment to ask yourself to assess and observe if this dog is calm, comfortable, and cooperative. When they aren't calm, comfortable, and cooperative, the 3 C's, that's when we'll see behaviors that we don't want. When they are, the 3 C's, that's when we can teach new skills. So let's break it down a little bit more. Calm is not just a lack of fighting us, but it's a relaxed dog. Because a dog that's overly silly also needs help with calm. Any sort of wiggling, moving, pushing, pulling, making noise, stuff like that can be dangerous around sharp objects, which I think trainers need to remember that grooming is all about running sharp objects all over a dog. More so than at the vet. The vet doesn't really do quite as much with sharp objects most of the time on a dog who's awake. Again, I used to be a vet tech. Telling you, they usually have a number of people helping out with something like putting scissors next to an eye. So calm isn't just the lack of fighting us, it's a relaxed dog. Comfortable, the second part of the 3 C's. This is important because that's where trust is. The dog who is able to allow us to work with them, on them, around them, isn't alarmed by any of our equipment, procedures, environmental and social factors. Those are things like interacting with people and with dogs and social interactions. They're comfortable in the areas that we're working on. They've been exposed to stuff in such a way, early socialization stuff, that they feel like, okay, I feel comfortable with that. I could do that again, right? That's comfortable. Now the third one, cooperative. That's the posable action figure. That's the dog that willingly lets us touch them all over, reposition them, work with them on tools, things that are noisy, things that vibrate, things that deposit soap, things that push air into the coat. I want you to think about the dog that's willing to let us do whatever we need to do. For veterinary exams, that could be full range of motion on legs. That could be looking in ears. For groomers, that could be standing straight when many, many dogs have a little bit of a twist to their stand. So cooperative is the allowing us to do whatever we need to do. So calm, comfortable, and cooperative, the 3 C's apply to every dog, every situation. I want you to always keep those in mind. When we're calm, comfortable, and cooperative, we're able to deal with new challenges, new experiences. We're able to take instruction, deal with someone who's carefully and mindfully exposing us to things that are different, things that are new, things that are weird, right? A lot of the things we do are just weird. If you're doing it right, the dog never has a response that's dangerous or over the top. The dog doesn't feel the need to growl or show their lip or do anything outrageous. In fact, if you're doing it right, it's not interesting to watch at all. It's about as interesting as watching paint dry. Now, for the trainers out there, if we're focused on starting with and maintaining calm, comfortable, and cooperative, we'll be better at spotting the very first and sometimes very slight signs of discomfort and use that information to inform our training plans. It'll help us spot the problem and run it through the humane hierarchy. So the first step of the humane hierarchy, could there be a medical or physical component to this behavior? The second step, look at the antecedents, what happens before and or at the start of the unwanted behavior. And third part is to move on to figuring out a behavior change plan. But I want you to think about that's all part of our applied behavior analysis, antecedent behavior consequence chains, right? So getting all a little bit techie for the trainers, but the ABA, ABCs, right? When we're working with calm, comfortable, and cooperative, we're going to be able to spot those. We're going to be able to spot that moment the dog maybe shifts their weight away from you and what you were doing in that moment, because we started with calm, comfortable, and cooperative instead of a dog who's maybe stiff and already worried. If they're already worried, we need to backtrack further to calm, comfortable, and cooperative. Now, when trainers talk about cooperative care, start button behaviors, and consent in animal handling, following the 3 C's of calm, comfortable, and cooperative, I swear I've said that about 1,000,000 times in this episode, right? We'll reveal where those are, right? That's where the start buttons lie. That's where consent happens, right? The dog that is calm, comfortable, and cooperative, with the moment they change, when they move away from us or try to wiggle out of our hand or do something else that we do not want them to continue doing, that's where our start button behaviors are. Not like on the side of the room, go into touch and nose target, right? That start button behaviors and cooperative care and consent, often as a groomer, I feel those in my hand. And what I mean by that is I'm holding a dog's paw and I tell them, okay, I grab the nail trimmers. I'm like, okay, nail trimmers, line it up. And I put it on their toenail. And if the dog moves away before I put it on their toenail, that's moving away from me, right? We now need to get back to calm, comfortable, and cooperative. I want them to allow me to do it. It's not about if I can get it done. It's about having them be good for us to get it done together. When we're trying to predict how an animal may respond to something new, we can look back at all of the other things that dog shows the 3 C's with. Where was that dog having difficulty in the past? What kind of things is that dog very comfortable for? If that dog is really comfortable with turning on a dryer or turning on a shop vac, then we might not need to start a training plan for loud noises. That might not be their problem with, say, a dryer or a clipper vac. So looking at the 3 C's as our baseline behavior model, we don't need to be in a position where the dog has to make huge behavior changes before we notice. So we should be training our eyes, our hands, and our ears, and any other senses, sometimes sense of smell, but we should be training our senses to watch for, feel for, and listen for the subtle changes in behavior and actively trying to maintain and or restore that core of calm, comfortable, and cooperative, because that's the foundation for teaching a new behavior, making cooperative care cooperative and not scary. Because remember that most of the unwanted behaviors that we see is a dog who is uncomfortable and or unsure about how to act and what is happening. So to sum up the 3 C's for every dog, every single one, this is one of those things that you can apply to every animal out there. Calm, comfortable, and cooperative. That's where we're going to try to start. So to give you a few examples, things I hear, like this dog hates even coming in. Then the owners need to work on the 3 C's before they even come in. This dog hates the dryer. Then we use the 3 C's before we even hold the dryer hose near them. We figure out what happens when we turn it on. What happens if the nozzle is presented when it's not on? Think about how we can maintain the 3 C's and break that into smaller steps, whatever it is they're worried about, before the dog has a reaction, and try to help them keep calm, comfortable, and cooperative while we introduce a new step. Another example, this dog hates having his nails done. Then we start with the 3 C's. At what point are they comfortable, calm, cooperative, right? Before we even pick up the nail clippers, the Dremel, the file, right? We hold the foot in position and try to maintain the 3 C's, because sometimes it's not the tool, it's the position that we hold them in. We introduce the tool, we try to maintain the 3 C's. And if the dog can't handle something, we backtrack that one small step and get back to calm, comfortable, and cooperative. Because when we start smaller and we start with calm, comfortable, and cooperative, our training time is going to make more sense to that dog. It's going to last longer. It's going to work better. For groomers, I want you to start thinking about the 3 C's as ways to build on a dog's comfort level and cooperation, because they're in learning mode. And what does that mean? That means that the dog who is calm, comfortable, and cooperative is going to be able to handle being exposed to stuff stuff and things. I say that a lot, right? Stuff and things, right? But then in a way that isn't scary. Because when you're calm, comfortable, and cooperative and faced with a new challenge or a new experience that someone is carefully and mindfully exposing us to, we're more likely to listen. We're more likely to deal with the kind stranger who is working with us, allowing weird things to touch us. If you're enjoying this podcast, please remember to subscribe so that you don't miss any episodes, and tell all of your friends. Starting with the 3 C's, the calm, comfortable, and cooperative, I want you to think about the fact that that's when a dog is able to trust us more. They're listening, they're still learning, and they are having a good experience. I know that for many of us, that feels like we're not going to get anything done. And especially as groomers, we're like, well, I simply can't do that with every dog. But here's the big but. Here's the big one. We have to teach these dogs to be good for it. Their behavior's not going to improve if we don't spend time teaching. And their owners can teach it, or a trainer can teach it. But as groomers, these are things that we can do to help maintain something fairly good for us. And if a dog cannot handle it, the owner has to take some responsibility. We've talked about that before. It's an owner's responsibility to keep their dog healthy, clean, safe, and keep their dog from hurting anyone. And we get hurt when dogs have behavior problems. And I want you to think, too, that pushing a dog past what they can handle is when dogs get hurt, people get hurt, equipment gets broken. And your owner at the moment might be like, oh, well, we just need his nails done every 6 months, and he just hates it. Just, put the muzzle on and pile 4 people onto him. And they might say that now, but if their dog goes home limping, that could be terrible for your business, because they're going to throw you under the bus. I don't understand how Fluffy Jojo got hurt, because Fluffy Jojo was just a little bit scared and they piled on 4 people and now my dog is limping, right? They're going to throw you under the bus. So if we are saying, I'm sorry, I don't do that. I'm not going to push your dog to the point where they're scared, to the point where they're wrestling, to the point where they're going to freak out and just keep going because I'm physically stronger and I can do it. That's not good business. Honestly, most of our customers want us to teach their dogs to be good. If they know that there's a solution set, they usually will be okay with it. And if they're not your customer. They don't care if you get hurt. They don't care if they're looking at you saying, I don't care. Just get my Akita's nails done. Do whatever you have to do, but they better be perfect. And I don't want to pay anything more than $10. Send them home. They can do that on their own, right? Don't be bullied by your customers. Educate your customers. Help them find whatever they need to know through their veterinarian, through trainers, through you. But to help them understand what they need to be doing. And when we start with a dog who's relaxed, who's letting us do stuff, who's in this mode of like, okay, I think I could do that again, right? We can't just get them used to it if they're panicking, because what are we doing? We're getting them used to panicking. We're getting them used to thinking that grooming is terrifying. We're getting them used to thinking as soon as they put this muzzle on, they're just going to force me. Until eventually that dog says, I'm never letting you get no muzzle on again. So when we take it back, pull it on back, get them calm, comfortable, and cooperative. And like I said, if that's happening before they even come into a shop, or before you pull into their driveway, if you're a mobile groomer or a house call groomer like I am, before you are even involved, the dog is worried. The owners need to work on that. Okay, we can do a little bit. Certainly if a dog is worried when I show up, I can try to help calm that dog down. But if I can't calm that dog down, okay, well, the owners have some work to do. And I'll tell them that. Like, okay, well, these are some things that you can be doing. This is the baseline that we're going to need for me to be picking up your dog's feet and doing their nails, or putting them in the tub, or putting a dryer on them. And I'm always willing to figure out what's going to work for that dog and not worry about doing a full perfect groom. Groomers, I need you to relax, take a deep breath, and tell people that groom might not be perfect today because behavior is important. Circle back to the safety policy. Make sure your customers know you have a safety policy. Circle back to it. Tell them, like, hey, I don't want to risk injuries. I'm not going to risk it. And when we build calm, comfortable, and cooperative, when we build on that, when we start there and build on it, you'd be very surprised how fast a dog's behavior can change. Very, very surprised. Because I think that usually we're taking them so far past that before we even try. Like the dog's up there and has been worried for half an hour, and now we're trying the thing that we think is hard, but the dog's already been having a hard time. And then we try to work on it, and the dog's been having a hard time for half an hour, and now we're adding on the scary part, right? That's when we tend to go for like the eyes, So I want you to think about the fact that if we teach this dog there is nothing to be afraid of, there's nothing to be afraid of. Don't worry about it. You're fine. They can catch on really, really quickly. I've had plenty of dogs that it took like just a couple grooming sessions for them to be very, very different. Even if maybe they won't be for everybody. You know what? Maybe they won't. Maybe they won't translate that to everybody. But you know what? If they're good, better for their owners, and they're better for me, and they're better for anybody who takes the time to try this gentler approach and help keep them calm, if the vet knows why we're doing it this way. I've had plenty of times where a dog is entirely different for their vet the next time. And the vet's like, wow, you guys have been working hard on this at home. Good job. And the owners start to see the value in it. Because now they have a dog that they can medicate, that they can take care of, that they can bring to a vet, that they can maybe get the $10 nail trim. Because you know what? Somebody out there, if the dog is well behaved, is going to be like, great, a nail trim? Sure, walk in. That's 2-3 minutes worth of time. Their dog can get there if they put the time in now. And that's calm, comfortable, and cooperative. Calm, comfortable, and cooperative, every dog, every situation, every single time. And it's going to look different for each dog. That's okay. But I want you to think about that as the basis for all of the stuff that we do. All of it. All of it. So if you want something to apply to every dog, every time, it's not going to be get a clicker or get cookies, because that might not apply to every dog every time. It's not necessarily going to be, turn on the dryer from a distance, there are lots of different ways we can work on a training issue, but calm, comfortable, and cooperative should always, always be part of our setup. And like I said, from a groomer point of view, it's to help the dog learn that we're slowly building their skills and building up their confidence and building up their trust. From a training point of view, it means that we know that moment when calm, comfortable, and cooperative changed. Because the moment of change is the moment that we have to backtrack and try to come up with a training plan for. When did it change? He was totally relaxed, and then he saw me pull out the trimmer. And suddenly just kind of like froze, stiffened a little. Because you know what? Froze and stiffened a little doesn't look all that dramatic. Doesn't look like he's going to try to take my arm off. Good! We shouldn't be pushing dogs that far. We should be acknowledging oh, buddy, did that kind of scare you a little bit? Let's address it now. Let's address it here. Let's return to calm, comfortable, and cooperative. Because those 3 C's, every dog, every time, all the time. Why not? Why not? If you get into that habit and you continue to bring them back to the 3 C's, you are at least at least putting some funds into the savings account every single time. That dog is going to trust you more. Okay, as soon as I got a little bit nervous, they addressed it for me. It's going to work. So for people who are looking for the every time, every dog, I just want some advice. Well, here we are. This is the advice. Every dog, every time, calm, comfortable, and cooperative. The weekly action step this week is to be watching for, listening for, and feeling for those subtle changes in behavior, because we should be able to train our eyes, our hands, and our ears to look for calm, comfortable, and cooperative. If you'd like more information, you can find me at Chrissy@happycritters.net, happycrittersdogtraining.com, or you can join the Facebook group, Creating Great Grooming Dogs podcast, or the Facebook page, Creating Great Grooming Dogs. I really look forward to hearing from you.